Hello everyone, Lawrence here from Unicorn Bikes, and I've shot a lot of B-roll and riding footage, so I'm not going to show this ugly mess. I'm going to show you the gorgeous ACTOFIVE P-Train CNC, so let's dive right in. In a world full of plastic fantastic road and mountain bikes, I found it extremely refreshing when I first saw the ACTOFIVE P-Train steel and aluminium bike. It combined the artisanal aspect of a one-person brand with the industrial precision of a machined rear end. While that original bike looks and probably rides amazingly well, it was a little too niche for me. But when I saw the full aluminium machined version, my jaw dropped and I knew I had to have it. Now guess what? I do have it. Now, the delivery period wasn't the promised 12 weeks, it was closer to 16, and I understand it as it's just a one-person army launching a new bike brand as a side gig to his normal engineering job, but I would have liked more frequent updates on the status of my frame. Maybe I'm just impatient? The communications were otherwise very fast, and at no point did I lose trust in the company. The bike arrived in a big, well-padded box with the only damage to the box being the derailleur hanger area. My derailleur hanger wasn't bent, and you also get a spare hanger and idler pulley in the box, but maybe there should be some more padding over there. This bike is all about that idler pulley as it routes your chain near the single suspension pivot point. It comes out of the box set to 140% anti-squat, but if you are a real stomper on the pedals, you can move it to a 160% position. For those wondering, a standard 126 link chain was plenty long even with a 32 front chainring and a 51 tooth cassette. The shock can be bought as a package with the frame, and the pricing on the shocks is fairly good. I went with the EXT Storia V3, which has a handy lockout for climbing, and I'm running a 550 pound spring because I'm a little lockdown heavy right now. I also got a 525 pound spring included. That's pretty nice. P-Train is made out of two milled aluminium halves glued together, a bit like the pole bikes but with a more visible overlap joint. Now that doesn't bother me at all. I actually think it looks pretty good. I just wish that black epoxy line wasn't as visible. The frame finish on mine is red anodized, so it's not painted, and it doesn't have any bits chipped away from that anodization after 1 month and 300 kilometers of riding, so I'm really happy about that. There were some minor imperfections in the frame though, probably from handling somewhere between the milling and the anodizing process. As you can only buy it as a frame only, I will put all the parts of my build in the description, but TLDR, I went with a combination of affordable yet high quality and available. Of course, that was a very important one as well. Now I'm riding the bike with 135 millimeters of rear travel and 140 millimeters in the front. Now you can go with 145 in the rear and you can go up to like 160 in the front, but I mean, if you want to put 170 in there, no one's going to stop you. And you can get headset adjustment cups if you want to. Those cups even come with a pressing device, so you won't just bang it in with a hammer. I guess those Germans do think of everything, don't they? Now, how does the bike ride though? Well, first of all, it's definitely not a cross-country bike, but with my build, it actually climbs decently well for a over 4 kilogram frame. Even with that rear Storia unlocked, the bobbing is pretty minimal and the traction is just massive. Now, the 77-degree seat angle definitely helped to make the front a bit more weighted and normally sized, because I went with a size 3 frame, the largest one, and a 505 millimeter reach. I personally think the size is perfect for me at 183 centimeters tall. And so if the climbing is above average on this bike, what is it like descending? Well, the only word I have for it is magical. The ride isn't just much smoother than you'd expect of even a 160 millimeter travel frame, but there's just so much traction when braking that you just keep pushing that braking zone further and further and further until eventually you just go straight off the track. But it is fun to get to that point. And the travel is only 135 millimeters, but it just feels endless to me. I never felt the bike bottom out, even though I definitely did because of those lockdown kilograms. The rear doesn't feel muted or unresponsive either. The bike is actually pretty playful and active without any harshness. I haven't been able to try different shocks yet, so I'm not sure if this is purely the frame, purely that EXT Storia, but as a combination I think it's amazing. Now the cornering is great as well. The bottom bracket is pretty low and mine's actually in the high position, so I can go even lower than that if I really want to, but I'm already getting quite a few pedal strikes. Now those pedal strikes are worth it in my opinion. I'd much rather have a bike that corners and keeps carrying speed really well than a bike that is slightly better at, you know, pedaling over rough stuff. The only problem once you start going through corners and descends this fast is just my brain can't keep up with the pace I'm going. I still have a lot of practice to do just to get my position and my technique better, but I already feel like I improved heaps just going from my Spectral to the P-Train. Little things like that 34.9mm seat post, which actually allows me to get the full 210mm of drop on the largest frame despite being only 183 centimeters tall, or that fairly short top tube really make a difference to how I feel on the bike and how low I can get on the bike and how aggressive I can be when just leaning the bike in or moving backwards when braking. It's really perfectly sized for me. I felt strangely comfortable going fast over really rough routes, deep holes, steep chutes, but I did struggle in the very tight switchbacks as I just couldn't turn the bike in sharply enough. That said, I'd rather put down a foot or even crash at 5 kilometers an hour than at 50, so I'll take that trade-off anytime. And actually I'm sure that once I build up some arm muscle and improve my technique, I'll get around those switchbacks. ACTOFIVE doesn't really market this bike as a race bike, but I will be using it for Enduro races here in Belgium as it's not too long and not too steep usually. And I actually think it'll do very well just because of how much confidence I have on this bike. When you're racing blind races, confidence is like 50% of what you need anyway. Of course, this bike isn't perfect and I can't recommend it to everyone. For example, that rebound knob on the shock is near impossible to access. And the price, although slightly lower than what Paul asks, is still really high. But I don't think that is something that the target audience for a bike like this really cares about. The P-Train CNC is a bike for people who want something special, exclusive, gorgeous, and most importantly, something really fast. Overall, I'm extremely happy that I bought both the bike and the parts that I put on it. It was far from cheap, but I do now have a very special bike that makes me want to ride more and harder than any bike I rode before. Anyway guys, it is much too hot to sit here and talk in front of a microphone for much longer, so please let me know if you liked this video through a comment or a thumbs up or a subscribe or even that stupid bell that YouTube wants you to click. If you have any questions about this bike or the experience or the build, just put it all in the comments below. I read all of them and I'll reply to as many of them as I can, which is probably all of them because I don't get that many views, so hey, win-win. Well, not really. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers!